How's it going, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video, and we'll be doing another episode review or 2-episode review of a TV series. For this one, we'll be talking about Good Omens. Now, this is one I've seen commercials for as well as clips, and to an extent, I've been kind of curious about it. So, I was, honestly, really looking forward to watching this. So, we'll be talking about episode 1 and 2 with this particular video, and I gotta say, the style of it is, or seems, again, for the trailers, seems interesting. Though I think one of the biggest reels were probably the fact that it has one of my favorite actors being Michael Tennant. So, or David Tennant. I don't know why I said Michael Tennant. Michael Sheen is in this, but it's David Tennant is the bigger reel who gets me into watching this. So to an extent, really looking forward to talking about this series. So without further delay, let's go ahead and talk about episodes 1 and 2. So, episode 1, which is titled In the Beginning, is basically gonna... How should I describe this? Because honestly, to kind of compare it, the writing itself as well as narration, which, by the way, the narration is by Frances McDormand. And she literally plays, or they literally play, apparently God. And to an extent, the narration from quote-unquote God, I'm not gonna lie, is somewhat similar, or the kind of the same style that we've seen for shows like the series of unfortunate events, where it's very like complicates with a lot of I guess, if anything, explanation on certain things, certain words, certain situations, certain, I guess, scenarios to that degree. So, the first narration is, like, very overcomplicated. And to an extent, I found it funny because I was trying to keep up the best way I could, but couldn't. Going over, like, I guess, talking about, I guess, for the first portion of the video when everything started. So that, all in all, is interesting to say the least. And we are introduced to our main characters, who by the way is David Tennant playing as Crowley, and Michael Sheen playing as, if I recall, I'm gonna screw this up, Aziraphale. And to an extent, they were there at the, like, just to set this up, they were there for the Garden of Eden. Crowley was the one that tempted Eve to eat from the Tree of Knowledge, and therefore, causing Adam and Eve to leave the Eden. And to an extent, Aziraphale being there as well, kind of feeling sorry for these two, Adam and Eve, giving them his flaming sword to protect themselves. So to a degree, it's interesting. And the way the first setup, or I guess if anything, for the main plot line, to set up the main plot line, is literally Crowley meets with a couple of other aliens to take the Antichrist to a nursery, or a place where they're going to swap the baby for the baby of a American government official. So to an extent, that was interesting, to say the least. So, all in all, that's how it's set up. Though, to an extent, there ends up being a mix-up where apparently at the same time another family who's about to have a baby shows up, and instead of switching the Antichrist with the government official baby, they switch it with the other baby. So yeah, it's all a mix-up, but all in all, it's screwed up. And to an extent, Crowley is kind of, I don't know if I could say he is not upset, more so he doesn't want the world to end. Kind of, I think, probably acting selfishly, but in the end, he doesn't want the world to end, so he tries getting Aziraphale to help. And after some coaxing, alcohol, and giving him, purchasing crepes for him, they both agree to try to stave off the apocalypse by trying to make the Antichrist normal. But because the babies were switched, they go to the wrong house that has the wrong baby. And sure enough, through their efforts, they make this kid normal, even though he already was, and eventually realize that there's something wrong, especially when it's also revealed that when the Antichrist comes to age, they will release a hellhound for him. And this particular hellhound will take shape and basically be by the side of the Antichrist when that Antichrist calls out its name. And sure enough, he does call it, give it a name, though it's basically kind of mundane, where he just calls it Dog. But instead of it being big and kind of like a big freaking dog like it wanted to, like it wanted to be, it turns into a small little scruffy dog. And it's funny. It's funny in the whole context of like that, especially when the demons are like talking how big it is, and then all of a sudden it turns into this small little scruff dog. It's cool. But yeah, Crowley and Aziraphale realize that the kid that they've been watching over was the wrong kid, and to an extent realize that they feel like they failed, but we'll know for sure because we got like 6 episodes to talk about, but we'll be talking about episode 2 next, so let's go ahead and get right into that, because all in all, I will say, before I go into episode 2, all in all, the writing itself is really interesting. Like I said, the narration is very, very, I don't want to say preachy, just very, very very prone into explaining things. It's funny, and to an extent, I think adds to the comedy. And again, there's shows like the Series of Unfortunate Events that do that, and it works. And I think it works here. So to a degree, I'm liking it. I like the characters, Crowley and Aziraphale. I like how they're opposites. The funniest thing, I think, with this particular episode, where they talk about, I guess, the home office for Heaven and Hell is literally an office building, and in it, while Aziraphale goes up the escalators to go to heaven, Crowley just sinks into the floor to go to hell. It's hilarious. But all in all, this was a great start. I'm really looking forward to seeing more, or discussing more and doing reviews of more, just watching this first episode. But you guys know that I'm continuing it because we are talking about episode 2 next, so why don't we go ahead and get right into it. So, episode 2, kind of continuing, or at least, I guess not continuing, starting off with the introduction of the descendants of a witch hunter and a individual who, I guess, understood or had prophecies. Basically, them in current day and how their lives have adjusted from, their lineage. Whereas the witch hunter kind of has terrible luck and continuously has trouble with jobs. And the girl of prophecy, who to an extent has, or at least her family, due to her great ancestors' prophecies, have given her a chance to live a wealthy life, but also has been given an opportunity to stop the end of days. And sure enough, she goes to London to find who this could be, or who is causing it. So either way, that's what's going on. They also introduced this book that holds all of her prophecies, and quite possibly the way to figure out how to end it, or figure out where the child is. And to a degree, while everything's going on, Crowley and Aziraphale are trying to get answers on their own, going back to the convent that Crowley took the baby to eventually interrogating the final evil nun, who is still alive, but get nothing from her. They do eventually end up hitting the descendant of the woman of prophecy, or Agnes Nutter, I should say. And to a degree, due to some mishap, they take her home, but she forgets the book that held all of her ancestors' prophecies. And sure enough, Azazel, or Aziraphale, locates the book, or sees the book in the car, and proceeds to begin to read. Where he, by the end of the episode, does find out where the child is at. And sure enough, honestly, that's how the episode ends. It's pretty cool. So far, the show itself is, pretty cool. And by the way, something else I should mention too, and I forgot to mention it, is I like the intro to the show. To an extent, it kind of feels almost Monty Python-esque when it comes to its animation. Like, very... it's odd, I should say. The animation itself for the intro is very, very odd. But I like it. It's interesting to watch. But anyway, all in all, this was a great episode. If I were to give at least talk about one scene in particular that was really funny, I think, for instance, my favorite, and it's kind of an odd scene and it's very quick, was this one where apparently Crowley over the years got into the hobby of gardening. And we see this moment where God is narrating Crowley, and how, to an extent, he takes gardening very seriously, to the point where he's apparently heard of the thing of, talking to plants helps, but instead of actually talking to them, he puts the fear of God into the plants. And that, all in all, is really funny, especially when you see one plant having one of its leaves damaged, taking the plant as if he's going to go off and kill it, which that could have been what happened, because we see him walk off. Other plants, who are apparently sentient to some extent, are shaking their leaves, basically in fear of Crowley. He takes off. He leaves the room. You hear all this noise, and he comes back with an empty bin. So, to a degree, that was probably one of my favorites. So, all in all, the show's, again, been good so far. Really enjoying it. And with that is the end of my review for, or at least what I've gotten so far with episodes 1 and 2 for Good Omens. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Novakast signing off. Have a good one, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.